Hey there, everyone. Welcome back. Hey, have you ever heard of these sovereign citizen weirdos? And I bring this up because I was having a conversation the other day with my wife about someone that she knows who basically is trying to declare sovereign citizenship. If you know what I'm talking about, you know how weird these people really are, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically, they are using the language of the Declaration of Independence, where basically it says that the authority of it. I may not have the wording exactly right. I haven't read it in a while, but something to the effect of the government derives its power through the consent of the governed. Okay? And so basically their theory is, well, I don't consent to be governed, and therefore the laws don't apply to me. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. You know what? You did enter a social contract, though. I mean, these people think that they don't need to have a driver's license, and I can see an argument for that one way or the other. But, as far as whether that should be a requirement or not, having a license to drive, but they think they don't need a driver's license. They think that basically any laws that we have don't apply to them because they don't consent to be governed. Okay, well, when you're driving, stay off of my roadways then, right? Because, who built that? The same government that you think doesn't apply to you, right? What is to stop you from becoming a thief or a murderer or any other crime, right? If you're a sovereign citizen and the laws don't apply to you, come on now. Also, interesting thought that I just had I just had this thought just now, right? Just kind of an interesting thought here, right? If they are the victim of crime, right? Since the laws don't apply to them, can they use those laws against, can they use the force of law against those who commit crimes against them? Or can a crime not be committed against them because they're a sovereign citizen? Or, since nations have sovereignty, would they consider that to be an act of war? Interesting little thought exercise there. I don't know. Right? First of all, sovereign citizenship is not a thing. All right? It's just not. You cannot just declare on your own that, the laws don't apply to me. Right? And there are people who have tried to petition, like the sheriff's departments and, whatever. They petition the local governments to say, hey, you know what? No. And local governments typically laugh at them. It's like, yeah, that's not a thing. Not a thing. I can understand something kind of along the same line applying to the native tribes, but that's different. That's tribal law that would apply on tribal lands, right? Also, you cannot be in a public location, right, in any country, and think that the laws don't apply to you, right? If you're driving 75 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour speed zone, you can get pulled over, right? And you can receive a ticket, and if you receive a ticket, you are required to pay that ticket, right? And there's also a possibility that you can do jail time, even if you declare yourself a sovereign citizen, because if you break the laws of the country that you are in, you suffer the consequences of breaking such laws. Even if you are a sovereign citizen, even if that was a thing, right? These people often try to use it for like traffic violations and whatnot. In fact, the person that my wife knows that she was talking to or overheard a conversation this person was having or something. I wasn't there. But the argument was, he can't get a driver's license, right? He just can't. And basically the argument was, if I declare myself a sovereign citizen, I don't need your driver's license. Okay. But the laws of the road still apply to you, right? And one of those laws is that you are required to have a license in order to drive. Like I said earlier, if you want to make the argument that a license should not be required to drive, all right, let's have that discussion. Let's have that discussion because, really, just having a license doesn't mean you're a good driver, right? We've all seen them. We've all seen them out there. In fact, I'm going to pick on my mother a little bit here. She's a senior citizen, had to, for health reasons, give up her driver's license because it was not safe for her to drive anymore, right? In fact, when we went to the DMV, it was time for her license to be renewed. And when we went to the DMV, she drove. And quite frankly, I don't get scared easily when other people are driving. I was terrified. Right? And I was telling her, you know what? You might want to consider letting your license go because on the way there, she couldn't keep her lane. She was doing well under the speed limit. Holding up traffic under the speed limit. She hit a curb. And ultimately, I told her that she should consider giving it up. That it would be a good idea. And the lady at the DMV, I pulled her aside and it's like, listen, this is what I just saw. And Mom actually went in there on her own and said, you know what, just take my license. I just take it, right? So, yeah. Now, what does that have to do with sovereign citizens? Not really. Not really much. I just kind of got sidetracked a little bit with that story. But anyway, if I know where I was going with that now. Like I said, I got sidetracked. If they had renewed her license, that wouldn't make her a safe driver now, would it? And so I'll entertain the argument that a license shouldn't be required to drive, right? I'll entertain that argument. I'll hear you out on that one. Maybe you can convince me one way or the other. But what I'm getting at, though, is these sovereign citizen people, you can't just decide that, you know what, the laws don't apply to me because I said so. I mean, that would be literal anarchy if everyone did that, right? And don't get me wrong, in a perfect world, there would be no need for a government. It would be the very definition of the literal definition of anarchy, right? Where there is no government. Unfortunately, because of human nature, anarchy leads to chaos. If we could have order and anarchy, that would be ideal. But anarchy leads to chaos. And I think that's what these sovereign citizen people don't really understand. They don't understand the dangers that they're advocating for. So, you know what? You're a little bit weird, you're a little bit out there. I mean, yes, the government derives its power from the consent of the governed, yes. But by the consent of the governed, that doesn't mean that you can personally opt out. I mean, not unless you I don't know, go buy a private island and live there, right? That's really the only way. Or, you know what? Start up your own country. Start up your own country full of sovereign citizens and, see how well that works out for you. Anyway, that's just something I was thinking about, conversation that my wife told me about some time back, and it just kind of popped into my head right now for some reason. But, yeah. Sovereign citizen weirdos. Anyway, I'll catch you next time.